I'm Anil Kumar, and in this video we will understand what is a relation and how to identify independent and dependent variables. Now, whenever we talk about relations, in that case we talk about a rule that links or associates two groups. So two groups could be two sets, it could be two entities, right? Or two things, right, in general. So any two things, you need to find an association how they are related, and that gives rise to the word relation, right? So whenever there is a relation, we are talking about two groups, right? So there is group here, and this is the second group. So these are the two groups, and these groups have a relation, so they are related somehow. And this is relation with the help of a rule. So that relation is because of a rule, right? So this is a rule here which relates them. Now in mathematics what happens is that we try to give some numbers so that it becomes easy for us to communicate, right? So what we do here is we say, well, when two groups are related, we'll call one of them as input, the other one as output. And everything in them will be known as elements. So these are part of the group, right? So these are the elements. So we'll call them elements. So basically, rule connects elements of input to elements of output. So that is how the relation is. Now, it could also be treated as input-output relation, right? So input, you give in something, you get output. Now here, what is important is to say that output is dependent on input, right? Input could be anything, correct? So what we say here is that inputs are independent. You can give any input, and then whatever you get as an output based on the input, that means output is dependent, right? So that means output is dependent. So outputs are dependent on the inputs, and therefore we have two set of variables. One is called independent variable. The other one is dependent variable. Is it okay? So it is kind of like this. For example, if we have some operation going on here, let us say, and the operation here is double the amount. Let's say the operation is double the amount, right? So if, let us say, that is the operation or the rule which links input with output, the rule is double the amount. That means if I feed in $5, then I should get out $10. That's good. Double the amount, right? So you can feed in anything. You could feed in, let's say, $50. In that case, what comes out is twice 50, that is $100. Wow. So there is no limit in this game. Whatever gets fed in, you get twice the amount, right? So that is the kind of a relation. Now here, whatever you feed in is independent. You could feed in anything to this machine in dollars, and what you get is just the double of that amount, right? So double the amount. So that is how it may be kind of easy for you to remember how independent variable and dependent variables are related in case of relations, right? And how something in between, and that something is the rule for us, connects input with output. So this is input, and that is output, right? So in our example, where the relation is double the amount, input dollars, whatever you feed in, and the output is the dollars which come out, which will be twice as large as the input, right? So that becomes an example of relation where you have identified independent and dependent variable. Now you'll also recall that on a coordinate plane, normally you put independent variable along the x-axis, right? So this is the x-axis and that is y. So independent variables, the inputs I should say now, are normally placed against the horizontal number line, which is the x-axis, and the output will be along the vertical number line, which represents y-axis. So whenever you represent a relation in form of numbers on a coordinate system, remember coordinate points, set of coordinate points could represent the relation where input is along the x or x coordinate and output is represented by the y coordinate, correct? So that is how we could do. Now whenever we say a statement, and let us say the statement is that temperature increases air pressure in a closed container, let's say, right? So let's say an experiment is being performed and you notice that temperature increases air pressure in a closed container. So in this kind of an example, can you tell me what is the input? So temperature becomes the input and the output is air pressure. So air pressure becomes the output. Do you understand? Output. So that is how in a relation you can always figure out which one is independent variable, right? You can set different temperatures and then what you measure is the pressure. That is the output. So that is how you can, from an example, find how independent and dependent variables are related. Independent variables represent the input. Dependent variables depend on the value of independent variables and they represent the output, right? So I hope with this you understand relations and also the variables associated with them. Independent variables are the input variables and the dependent variables are the output variables. Thank you.